has is ready. Oh,
I'm switching over to my computer.
yes,
Paula,
Carmen,
so
I saw that.
okay.
Okay, beauties. So last week we talked about your commitment to writing. I wanted you to see what does writing means for you, even though you think you know it. You reconsider it. And there's Shantae's as well. Hi, honey. Welcome. What is writing to you? Why do you do it? And we said that even though it doesn't have to be a super special, mystical, crazy kind of reason, as long as you know for sure why you're writing, that's all you need. And there's Amar as well. I think we have everyone who accepted today. Hi. I received some very beautiful homeworks from you. Carmen, you wrote a lot. So I applaud you for that. I saw you got into a flow. I also received something from Keshni. If anyone else sent me your answers and I didn't get them, I apologize. Do let me know. So I wanted you to write your reason, and I wanted you to write, in particular, a declaration that will kind of bind that your vow to writing. That was your main homework. And the second one was obviously to find a writer space, somewhere you dedicate your time to writing, somewhere you call your little sacred writer space. Just going around now with some questions. Is there anyone who had difficulty doing this? And if so, what was it? Yeah, Sylvia.
What I realize is that when I start writing those things of why it is important to me, and there's so many thoughts that are coming, and so when I put it down, and I would leave that, and then the next day I would do the same thing again, there's there's another load that comes.
Very interesting.
So it's I don't know, every time you ask me those kind of for me challenging questions, you know, there's I just it keeps on coming, and it takes me really time to get something concise. You know, the last weeks from different sides, because I've been working with different people, they asked me to create a bio. And I kind of managed, even though they were for different things, to find what you said the last time, you know, that there at a certain moment you realize that there are kind of words that really belong to you, that stick to you, and I finally started to see that with the bio, but with the declaration I'm not there yet.
Okay. And you think the problem with the declaration is that you have a lot of stuff coming up and you can't put it into a concise way? Or would you say there's too much going on and you need to kind of get around to writing that? What would you say it is?
I actually realized while you're asking me these questions that my biggest problem is that what I am writing, the words and the phrases that I'm using, I could not use them for the big public. And I think that is, for the moment, my problem. I need to do, not a big, but I need to do a little translation, a little adaptation.
Okay, so let's roll back a little bit. We're not talking about the bio now. We're not talking about something you will show to a public. We're talking about you writing something personal, addressed to yourself, and even more importantly, addressed to the writer part in you. This is not for the public. This is not
Okay.
for anyone to
Yeah.
see. And I did say, if you don't feel comfortable sharing it on the group, do not share it on the group, share it with me.
Yeah.
This is your ability to become intimately close with yourself as a writer, talking to the writer you. So first of all, scratch the public out of it.
Yeah.
And the vocabulary and the lexicon and the grammar, there's nothing to do with that. This is simply about, I'm writing because, and it's related to a feeling or to something in you that you want to express into the world. So that I would say, stay with that. So great. Thank you for that, Sylvia. You're not the only one. I'm pretty sure. Thanks for speaking for many. Is there anyone else that had a challenge with this or found anything? Vera, yes, hon.
Hi. So the same challenge that Sylvia had. I would write something down. I already wrote something during our last call. I was rewriting and I was like, oh, this sounds so silly, but I still continued doing that because it's not silly. And yeah, so my trouble is sort of, why did I didn't send it yet? I'm still like, it's not finished. It's not finished. And I think that the trouble is that I feel that it should be finished, but it, and again, now I realized what Sylvia said, that it won't be finished ever. It will change every time. And it's not sort of a problem if it changes. It doesn't have to be written to the rock. But I guess I am discussing with the inner perfectionist, having a conversation with that one.
Very good.
So I'll just post it now. It's raw and it's not complete, and I have to accept that. And it's just what I wrote and what I think right now. So I'll post it in the Telegram group.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Vera. That's 100% vulnerable and accurate in the sense of you will never finish. And you know what they say, a book is never finished. You will, if you keep editing a book, you will keep writing and keep writing. You'll forever change something because you change as a human being. And there is, let me clarify this, there's nothing wrong with that. What we're doing now, we're at this point in time, 2022, February, we want to write. Why am I doing it now? That's all I need to know. That's all I need to know, right? Why am I doing now at this point in my life of all times in the world when I could have written? Now I'm here on this class, I'm committing to writing and I want to do it because, right? So it's simple. It's really, really simple. And this exercise, believe it or not, it's helping you also write your first draft of whatever you're writing. That's one of the classic errors we do as writers. We think our first draft is ready for the public. Is not. It's called the vomit draft. Marta Beck, one of my favorite, calls it the vomit draft, really literally, and she's not the only one. You literally vomit words, and that's so okay, and that's so acceptable. And a couple of you that have messaged and told me that you keep coming. So again, yeah, Sylvia, you're not the only one. Carmen wrote a lot. She felt she'd go one inside and then she kept writing. It's just brilliant. It's brilliant. There's a lot of stuff lying there, and this again will link into your ability to make this into a consistent activity. Writers write. So unless we get this out and unless we can, for now, at this moment in time, make a concise promise and vow to ourselves, we're going to find problems later on. So do take your time with this homework, but do complete it. Shante, yes, honey.
Yes, I just wrote something last week on a sticky note and I felt like it was so short. And it just felt like it just came out and that was it. I thought maybe that during the week I would read it and more would come up. I would elaborate on it. But similar to Sylvia, whatever was coming up didn't feel like something I could actually put into words further than what I had wrote on a sticky note. And yet I didn't feel like what I wrote on a sticky note was enough.
Well, it's definitely enough for now. You know, there's nothing better than reality. Reality is our best advisor, our best friend. Reality shows us this is what you need to write now. Do you mind sharing what was on that poster, sweetie? Is it okay? Can you?
Yeah, sure. Hopefully I can read it. It was from last week.
If you can find it.
No, it's right here. I write to fulfill the calling of the voice in my heart and the whisper of my ancestors. I write to live my life fully expressed and out loud.
Wow. How is that not enough? That's
I know,
all.
I think it's beautiful. I think it is beautiful.
Yeah. What was the part about your ancestors? Read that again, please. I write to fulfill.
I write to fulfill the calling of the voice in my heart and the whisper of my ancestors.
The whisper of your ancestors.
So basically, it's not really a whisper.
You just got the words out of my mouth.
It's not a whisper at all. They sent strangers to tell me that I should write. And I think I told you I burned all my journals so that I couldn't use my journals to write anything. Because someone said, oh, I bet what you have to write is already in all those journals you wrote. And I'm like, one, how did she know I had journals? Because I didn't know this woman. And two, this means I must destroy the journals. That way, there's no way I could ever write anything. And so now they're not sending people, they're coming full force themselves. I was like, I feel their presence. My great-grandmother's in my dreams almost every night. And I don't know what to do. I feel like if I don't get whatever this is out, that I am going to literally burst.
That's an amazing reason to write right now. Was it Maya Angelou who said, there is no greater agony than an untold story. There is no greater agony than having an untold story inside you. That's an amazing reason to write. You don't need an essay on that. That's all you need. Just really feeling that deeply. If I'm not going to write, I'm going to burst. That's your mantra. That's brilliant. And just have down a post-it on your laptop, on your desk, on your somewhere. Just remind yourself, that's it. That's it. That's good enough. More than enough. Brilliant. Thank you, sweetie. Thanks for sharing that. Is there anyone else who would like to share their declaration? Not your whys necessarily, or if you can sum it up briefly, but I'd really love to hear a declaration of someone that feels like reading, sorry. Yes. Yes, sweetie. Yes, Maha. I want to hear you.
Mine's actually very short because I thought about it fitting on a Post-it. So
Great.
my declaration is, my intention is to connect with the writer inside. That's it.
Powerful. Powerful. Connect with the writer inside. Connect.
I also wrote my goal as part of that, which is to write and publish a children's book. And I already have a title picked out, The Zoo Inside of You. And I want to accomplish this by winter solstice of 2022.
Hey, big cheer from everyone. Amazing. The zoo inside of you. And you want to connect with the writer inside of you. So therefore, your writer is a zoo. You're coming forms of animals writing. So you're going to write to the voice of different animals. Beautiful. I love that. Connect with the writer. Isn't it great how almost everything we do in life goes back to connection, human instinct, connection, one of the most powerful of all.
The teacher in me wakes up immediately. If you're writing a kid's book or young adult book, I can take the material and just use it in my classroom, and you will immediately have readers for your text.
Yes, Vera is a teacher. She teaches Maha, so she has loads of children around her and young adults. So if you ever need someone to read, absolutely. Beautiful. Connecting with the writer inside us. Anyone else? Carmen, you've unmuted yourself. Did you want to read?
Yeah,
Go.
I can read mine. And
Great.
parts of it, it was just personal for me. So anyway, my declaration. I vow to restore her, my former constant companion, the writer within, to her rightful place in my life and in my heart. I vow to never ever abandon her again, but instead I vow to hold her close and take her out to play every day, long after she fills my heart with flashy, brilliant, rainbow technicolor sparkly light that sets my spirit ablaze and lights up even the darkest of my night skies. I vow to keep taking her out to play, to keep her company, to always show her love, and to never take her for granted. I vow to show her off and hold her up for all the world to see, whether they love her or not. I vow I always will. That's my declaration for writing.
Oh, amazing.
Thank you.
Very loving declaration.
Carmen, can I add something from your text to that? Because I was really touched by it. You
Thank
said,
you. Absolutely.
but mostly I write to honor my voice. Here, see, I'm even getting emotional.
Oh,
I write to honor my voice, to recover, reclaim, and love with all my heart, my writer within, and all the lost, exiled, discarded, splintered pieces of me. I write to feel whole.
yeah. Yeah, that was from that section on why. Yeah.
So beautiful.
Thank you so much.
I must admit, I didn't read everything, but
I know you don't have to. I think if you read the beginning and end, you'll kind of get the gist. So thank you.
That's brilliant. I really love that, Carmen. I admit I haven't read the entirety of it.
And that is fine.
I scrolled through it and I read the ending, and definitely it's there. Once everyone sends me theirs, I'm going to keep these and I'll show you at the end when you first started. I'll send them back to you and see if they changed. I want to see if they change, or what changes, what remains, what goes and what stays. So I'll do that for you. That's why I'd love you to send me your declarations. I want to also say this is allowed. If your whys are private or vulnerable, you don't feel like sharing them, which is absolutely normal, keep them to yourself, but do write them, whether they're long or short, whether they funny or sad or messy. Keep your whys to yourself if you feel you need to, but the declaration has to be something you're proud to say, you're full of love in saying it, and it makes you want to write. You know, if it doesn't make you want to write, then the rest of us, we definitely not going to. And again, the declaration is something between you and yourself, you and your writer self, your writer's voice. Okay. Lovely, lovely, lovely. We do have 5 to 10 minutes to do a hot seat today. It's the first time, the hot seat. You bring one issue that you have. It doesn't have to be necessarily related to the homework. It could be related to something you're trying to write now, or something in your project that's not working, ideally related to writing. You can bring the issue up if you so wish, and we can try to go over it. If anyone feels called to do so, we have about 5 or 10 minutes.
I feel called to do so if that's
Amazing.
okay. If somebody else has something, I'll be happy to
Sure.
let them go first. But
Okay.
so after I got this out there, and out of here and onto paper, I sat back and I don't know, I had this feeling of, now what and where do I go from here, and which of the projects do I want to do, and I got flooded with, feelings of judgment and not being good enough. And, and I think it all came back to, though, really why do I want to write? And that's what we talked about, and you talked about in the beginning, and the Maya Angelou's quote there is that, you know, we have these stories within us, right? And it is agony not to get them out there. And sometimes they are messy and vulnerable and very revealing, you know. And so I still, I think, feel a little fear, even though I'm going to write. I'm just a little worried that I'm going to slack off from this point, you know, because I just feel a bit scattered about where do I start from here, and how do I stay in that mindset, in that place of that I'm writing this for me, and I promise to love my writer and to love my writing, whether anybody else does or not. I guess I'm needing some help with staying in that place, and then just continuing on and follow through with my vow to take her out and play every day, you know.
Absolutely. No, that's a really great question. So staying in the flow,
Mm-hmm.
and also creating some kind of structure, right? Because you say,
yes,
you're saying you feel all over the place in the ideas, but I have to say the creative chaos is ideal for a writer. We need chaos for the ideas to come, and it's okay to feel that way because the structure comes later on. Let's talk about that first. So you're not too sure where to start, and you're not necessarily where do I go from here, right? With my project. I was actually, this leads us into the topic of today. It's the center of your story. So that's a brilliant question in that sense. We're going to talk about that in 7 minutes. What we do, no matter if we write poetry, fiction, short stories, whatever we write, we have a core message. Remember, I said to you at the end of last week, begin to write in one paragraph what your book is about, what your story is about. I see that as the sun in the center, and then all planets and central bodies running around it. You have a core of your story, the center, that's the message. And that message, funnily enough, I used to believe it's about a plot, a really interesting, clever plot, unexpected turns, unexpected, very intelligent stuff. But you know what? The core of the story is about one emotion, one feeling, a very powerful central emotion that, number one, you felt, and two, you want others to feel when they read it. Those are the most important things you can start writing about. You don't have to have a character. You don't have to have the plot. You don't have to have anything down right now. Just that one single feeling you felt and what you wish others to feel. I would just stop there in the sense of where to start. Okay. I will add, Amar raised his hand as well, and I think I intuitively know what Amar is going to say because he's writing an autobiography as well. I will add, if you're writing from memory, if you're writing autobiographical stuff, or if you have a story, what's really useful, and I saw many successful people doing when quality books being written, to literally begin writing almost one sentence or 2 words of memories that you had and place them on your wall. Again, place them somewhere you can see. That time when I went to the park and this thing happened. That time when my mom brought me a dog. That time when these memories will come with no effort because they're memories that defined you in some kind of way. You easily remember them. So that will really help you to get started. But again, it may be that you start writing down these memories and then a pattern forms, and then you can deduce your center of your story from all these memories, from all these patterns. It could be slightly the other way around. But if you do know the center of your story already, start from there. And if you don't, we can find it together. This is the time and place to ask for help if you having trouble with that. That's the one thing I would say to people here, my aim here is not to get you to buy coaching or to get, I'm not into that. I want to help people. I want you to get going as soon as you can. I want you to get your books out by the end of the year. So I have no interest in, you selling coaching. This is the one thing that's worth coaching in writing, in my opinion. Everything else, you can get a therapy, you can get things, but as a writer, you need to structure your story, and that makes or breaks a book. And I would say, start with this. If you have problems, come back to me. And then the other thing you said, to stay in the flow. You wanna keep loving the writer. You wanna keep loving writing, right? And you wanna honor that. Well, all I can say, do you have someone in your life that you really love, like a dog or son or a pet, or who do you love? Like, now get that person in your mind. Get that person in your mind, whatever it is, if it's a dog, if it's a person. Do you make any effort to love them? Do you do something? No, you just love them, don't you? You just love them. There's no effort in that. It's the same way with writing. You just do it. You just do it. You don't go like, let's say you have a dog or a pet you love. Oh, today I have to do something special, to love you, or you have to do something for me to feel like I can love you. No, you just go, you give them a hug. In the same way, you go, you pick up your pen, you sit down, you do it. And as you do it, think of the comparison I like to use is going to the gym. Let's say you want to do something with your body, you want to get healthier, fitter or something. Do you just go once? Nothing's going to happen. Do you just go now and then in 2 weeks' time? No, what do? You go as often as you can. Whether you feel like it, whether you feel good enough or you don't, you put your clothes on, you go. The same thing here. You're having a shitty day, write about, I'm having a shitty day. And you're starting with that, yeah? I don't feel like writing. The best pieces of writing ever done were about writer's block and the inability to write. And I forgot the name of the guy, but I came across a book in a bookstore. It was such a quirky book, and I lost it during moving. But someone said a book I wrote during writer's block, and he would write about anything. So he had a drawer in his writer's desk, and there was pens, there was all sorts of objects. And he opened the drawer and said, I'm going to write about the content of the drawer in my writer's desk. And there were pens of colors and shapes, and there were paper receipts. I wonder what this paper receipt is for. Oh, this pen is totally dry. I wonder how long I had it here. And he ended up writing a book literally about nothing. And that book was beautiful. It was beautiful. It's about the beauty in nothingness. He wrote a brilliant book about not being able to write. So again, it's a misnomer. It's a misnomer. Well, sweetie, did that answer your question?
It did, totally. It was
I'm glad.
wonderful, Paula. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Amar?
Thanks, Paula.
I'm sorry, it's Amar's turn, but I have to say I have to hop off. I have some Valentine stuff to go to, so have a lovely
you're going.
evening.
All right, Vera.
Sorry.
Okay, honey, I thought you wanted to talk about something. Okay.
No.
Thanks for coming. See you.
Paula, you
Yes,
mentioned
Amar.
about,
The sound, Amar?
okay,
That's better.
that better?
Yeah.
I suppose you have an experience that it's kind of sensitive, but at the same time you haven't fully processed it.
Yeah.
And in Lisa Nichols, she mentioned in her Speak and Inspire that unless it's fully baked, you shouldn't share it. So how does that work when you're actually it's part of the story in your book?
Right. What I think Lisa meant there, I don't know particularly the context, but I think she meant don't print it, as it don't make it publicly available. But number one, writing itself is a processing tool, right? So journaling, it's a healing method. Just writing that story out will help you process it. At the same time, I want to tell you, there are so many people who wrote about rape, murder, suicide. They haven't fully processed that. And some of these things you will never fully process in life, I feel. Some of them take a lifetime, take years. I think what you can share is where you are with it in that moment. I think the important thing is to not pretend that you're over it when you're not. Something super honest would be, this thing happened to me. It was tough. I'm still going through it. I'm doing my best. I haven't made it to the end of it, right? This is one chapter of my life. I'm still writing. But it doesn't mean I can't complete this book. It means that this chapter will overextend. And so many books that are series are because chapters didn't end, right? So many books that are series. Some chapters come up so good, or there's so much more to say about it, that you're going to keep writing. I think the most important thing is, especially with sensitive stuff, one thing I would say, if it does involve someone else, and especially in biographical work, because there's at least 2 or 3 of you here that are writing that, do protect identities, do protect other people's identities, do ask for permission if you will share that with anyone, and if in you sharing that can impact that person through your own common sense in any kind of way, right? So I say, do that. Speak to the person, ask for their permission, tell them you're writing. That you should do. When something it's super, super private, in a sense of, although saying that, I believe we live in a world now, my God, I've seen movies and documentaries about, unbelievable stuff that you wouldn't think this can't be happening to a person. We live in a world where people are kind of receptive to that, I would say. But if you're in a place where you feel you would be judged, or you feel still vulnerable on the outside, just always share whatever it's okay with you to share. My sister wrote a book. She just finished it literally, and it's about her entire life. She was a victim of domestic abuse. Her husband beat her. She ended up having 3 brain surgeries during the pandemic. She had a very tough life. And you know what? She shared in that book only things she felt she could share. By no means the book is your entire life. And by no means any book can ever be anyone's entire life. But it can be something that you are ready to share in whatever stage of the healing you are. Being authentic, I think something to take away, Amar, from there. Being authentic in whatever stage of your story, that is the most important. That is the most important. You will know what to share through the simple act of, I'm going to keep this to myself. Like people did the exercise this week. Some people send it straight away. And some people, Sylvia Vera said, I can't send this. They're not ready. That's the best, Again, reality is your best friend. Reality will tell you, I'm not going to share this. I'm keeping this to myself. That's your best compass, I would say. Okay. I hope that helps, Soma. Awesome. Anything else? Anything else anyone wants to say or bring up, or anything that needs to be said based on what you heard? Or please feel free to unmute yourself. No. Okay, good. So then I did have one question for you, and then we're moving on to today's topic. We do have time. I want to ask, has anyone spoken to anyone close about the fact that you're beginning to writing, if they didn't know? I think one of the little tasks in there in the content was tell people you are writing. And I'm curious to know if anyone had to have a conversation. Yes, yes, Karen.
I did. I had a conversation with Jeff, my partner, and he's so sweet. He'll tiptoe by me because my writing area is kind of in an open area, and it went very well. So he even like listened to me read my stuff, and yeah. So I did. I had the conversation. So, and I think that was part of where some of my fear came from, and so it was very reaffirming that some of the things I wrote, how it touched you, because Jeff's reaction was, that's cool. I'm like, okay, cool was not the emotion that was in there,
Brilliant. That's one of the best feedbacks guys can give you. If someone says they're cool, and if my son says to something it's cool, then they really mean it. So that's a really good compliment about that.
Because I'm over turning red because I'm like, yeah, I don't think any emotion in that was cool, but okay.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow, Carmen, I'm so proud of you that you did that. That is indeed one of the most difficult and biggest drawbacks for people to write. It's actually the people around us. The people around us, because we feel we owe them something, or that we need to, and especially women, we feel we can't be selfish. We feel that that's selfish to do something for yourself like that, like really take time of your day to write. That's crazy. So happy for you that you spoke to Jeff. That's amazing. Brilliant.
Thank you. And I found that I spent more time than I had told him I would with the writing, and that did come up for me. I felt guilty, and kind of like I kind of broke a contract with him that this is the time I'm writing, and I went beyond it. But he was fine with it. I was the one that wasn't fine with it. So that is another part I get to work on. But thank you.
Brilliant. Number 4. I'm really proud of you, Carmen. Well done. Maha, yes, sweetie, tell me, you raised your hand.
I did. So actually this happened before the start of the writer's class. I had quit my job because I was just done with it. I was feeling ill and it just wasn't a good fit. And that's kind of when I realized, like, okay, well, what do I want to do with my life? And I think I want to write. It's been something that I hadn't explored, but my partner is very practical and he's very pragmatic about everything. Like, you need a job, you need a paycheck, et cetera, et cetera. But when I told him, he said, go for it. And I was so shocked and surprised because he'd never read or seen anything that I'd written, because I hadn't written anything. And it was just this completely out of left field. And he said, you know what, just take 3 months, do it, see if it sticks. And if it works, great, then you just keep going on. We're good. You don't have to, like, he just was very supportive throughout the whole process. And then whenever I wrote a poem or whenever I wrote a verse for the book, I would read it to him and be like, oh, that's good. Keep going. So it was just, I knew he was supportive. I know he's supportive. I just didn't expect him to be supportive of something that I have no background in or understanding of completely of. So I just wanted to share that I'm very grateful for that.
That's beautiful. Thank you for that inspiration, Maha, because there's so many of us that avoid doing that. Just a second, my sister stepped in. Yes, honey. No, it's okay. Yeah, it's one of the toughest things to do for many reasons, especially if you live with people, if you're sharing your space with people. It's I'd say one of the best and toughest things to do. And one thing that you said, that when he didn't see anything you wrote, and you thought that he was going to have a reaction. These are all our imagination. These are all projections of how we feel about writing. It's not how they feel. It's how we feel and how we think other will feel about it. So getting this out of the way, it's a great way to get yourself started. All right, beauties, time for topic of the week. It's core message and a little bit of writer's block, not the whole writer's block, just the beginning of writer's block. What is my core message? So once you've decided, why you're writing and you made your commitment, exactly what Carmen was saying, what's next? Now, what do I do, right? Where do I start? I have so many things spinning in my mind, so many ideas. I don't know how to put them down on paper. How do I go about doing that? Your core message sits at the center of your story, whether it's a story, whether it's a poem, whatever it is you're writing, it doesn't matter. You're using writing as a way to channel a message. We writers are channelers of messages. That's what we do. And we use the art of writing in many forms. We do dialogue, poetry, storytelling, character description. That's just messages, and think of characters as channelers of other messages, different messages that you want to channel. The same way poems become little people, little persons that talk about a certain thing, right? Think about, in my book, there's like 56 themes. I had 56. Can you imagine if you were to 56 clouds around my head? I didn't know which one to pick. Well, it's because you can't pick one. They all have to be there in a story, right? It's the same with poems. It's the same with stories and children's book and everything as it goes. Now, without having this core message or an idea of it, you will drift. You will drift away. You will, fall off the path. You lose confidence in yourself, and you start beginning, you're not good at writing, but that's not the case at all. I do want to add, nobody is good at writing born. Nobody gets out of their mommy's tummy and they're good at writing. Nobody. I talked about Elizabeth Gilbert last week in her book, Big Magic. She was actually, admittedly, and I believe her, I don't have to research it, she was really bad at writing, in the sense of you couldn't make sense of what she was writing. She wasn't very legible. She couldn't keep a story up. But now if you read her writing, it's so simple. It flows so much. It's plain. It's almost as if a friend is telling you a story, and she says herself, I was trying to elaborate so much. And I think Sylvia said it, finding the right words for the right audience, for the right, and towards the end, towards her more mature works, it was the simple language, the language that you would speak as you would speak with a friend. And I think you hear this in loads of marketing pitches and teachers. They say you have one ideal customer, one ideal listener, one ideal. You're writing to them. Start writing to one person. It could be your best friend. It could be someone you trust, or you yourself as a writer. I was writing to myself. So when I wrote to myself, self-addressed. It wasn't for anyone to read. At the beginning, it was just me writing to myself. And like what Carmen was saying, embracing the writer, hanging out with the writer, taking them out for a walk, take yourself out for a walk, talk to yourself. You don't have to speak to a public just yet. You only need one single voice, one single listener. Imagine you're sitting with them and you want to tell them this thing happened to me, this thing happened to me. So that's how you get to how you begin to get to the core message. There are a few questions you can ask yourself in order to get there. But before we go into those, there's 4 questions that are written down that came to me. Before we even go there, I want to tell you there's 2 ways to get your core message, or there's rather 2 ways to view the core. Either you're already in the center, so you may know exactly what your core message is, but you don't know the satellites, you don't know the planets around your core message. So that's one way. I have an idea, but I don't know how to extend it, how to build it. That could be one way. The other way around is you have loads of little ideas, but you don't know the common point. You don't know the core message. I don't feel either one is better than the other. I don't think you can say, it's better to know the message and then find out the stories. They both have their challenges. But right now, in this moment, I want you to sit 1 minute and think about this. Just make a decision. Do you think you have the core message, or do you think you have the stories around your message? What do you think you have? If you already know, please write it in a chat, write it to yourself on paper and write it in the chat and let me know, what do you think you have? Do you have your core idea, or do you have little bits and pieces of puzzles that you can join together? If you don't know, say, I don't know. It could be that you don't know, and then we can help each other find out. Okay. So let's see. Good. Amar says bits and pieces you can join together. Brilliant. Sylvia says both. Core and some bits. Great. The goal of the work is for children to understand and recognize emotions and name them when they arise. Very good. The entire book will be a poem which each section dedicated to a particular animal. Brilliant. So yes, Maha, you have the core and the stories. Both. A couple of pieces I have. Carmen, you have a couple of pieces. You have some bit, both. Great. So quite a few of you have both. And Amar, you have the stories. So you'll come up with the core later. That's brilliant. So if the majority of you have the core idea, you can even take what you wrote in the chat. For example, Maha, you can save that, what you wrote, and start with that root. Write it down, because that is part of your core message. And you need to have that either imprinted in your memory or written down, because that's how your book will build from there. If you haven't already written this down, write it down now. What I do want to ask, just by raise a hand, it was the writing homework from last week. I said ahead of next week, consider the core message of your piece. Tell your reader what's the heart of your story. Has anyone written on that yet? Anyone? No, I don't think anyone did that. Okay, cool. That's okay. We can do that this week. Kashni, you raised your hand because you wrote it. Sweetie, you're muted. You're muted, honey.
Sorry, Paula.
It's okay.
Yes, I did write something. You mentioned something about like a paragraph or so.
Yes.
Yes, and I did write because I want to do both, but I'm starting with the Huskies. I just had this need to share about them. So,
Yeah.
their birth, yeah. So I'm writing about them because they were, I'm calling it lockdown delivery. So, the trial, having them delivered here on the plot during the lockdown and the challenges that we faced, visiting the vet and that sort of, but I'm going to get to that. So in the beginning, I've just written the paragraph introducing them, kind of that, yeah. Because remember, it was the two, and then a year later, they had 8 babies.
Wow. Wow, this is a beautiful story. I love that, Kashni. That's a beautiful center to begin with, the babies, the husky babies. Amazing. Yeah. So please stay with that. And from that, we're going to draw, that's a perfect example. So we have the lockdown delivery. That's the core of the story, right? That's the center. That's where the story focuses. And then all around that, you'll have aspects of the parents' life, the baby's lives, how you got to know them, what happened with that. That's brilliant. That's a perfect example. Now, behind any facts, occasionally I'm going to mute you, sweetie, because there's like,
yes.
Behind any facts resides something, and I touched upon this briefly, resides something more important than facts, history, characters. And that is number one, which is the number one question I want you to ask yourself. What did you feel that made you want to write? And this again will always go back to class 1. It's a combination of your reason for writing, but it's also about the story worth telling. The story is worth telling because I felt something powerful, something strong. I understood something. So again, it's what did you feel that made you want to write this story in particular, right? And don't worry, I'll get these notes out to you so you will have the 4 questions into the notes. The second question is, what do you want others to feel when they read your story? What do you want others to feel? For example, Maha already said she wants to teach children how to feel or to identify emotions when they arise. That is what she wants them to feel, to recognize. They want to recognize their emotions. So that's what she has in mind when she writes. The third question is, how do you want your book to touch others' lives? How do you want, when others read that book, you want them to do what? And I think of books you read, movies you've seen. How did they touch you? How did you feel when you left the cinema, when you finished reading a book? Did it leave you asking questions, questioning your beliefs, reaching deeper places of thought that you haven't explored before? What was it? What is it that you want your book to do for others' lives? This will again solidify the center of your story, and it will help you drive your writing in that direction. Number 4, and the last question is, what's the lesson? What is the lesson in all this? I'll give you my example. The book I wrote, The Letters of the Priestess, the ultimate core and lesson is there is nothing more important than who we become. It's not what we say, it's not what we do, it's who we become. So that was my lesson and my message, 2 in 1. So I wanted the same to consider what's the lesson. And this is pretty short. This is pretty short. It's a sentence. We'll get there. If you're not there yet, don't worry, you will get there. The most important, or the ones to get you started, are questions 1 and 2. What did I feel and what do I want others to feel? Later on, when your story develops, you will see how your book will impact others' lives, and you will see what the lesson is as well. Writing is a process of discovery, and often it is the book who writes the writer, not the other way around. So don't worry if you don't feel particularly wise, or if you don't feel like a guru, or if you don't have the teaching or the lesson yet. It will come to you, but having it in the back of your mind. Now, these are the 4 questions. Needless to say that this is your homework for next week. Yeah, this is your homework for next week. Exploring these questions, answering these questions directly helps you write your book. You can literally now, you can consider week 2, I've started writing on my book. Because now you're building your content. You're building your table of contents, the structure of your book. This is it. This is it. You're starting to write now. Okay. We're right on time. If you can stay another 5 minutes, you're welcome. If not, I'll send you the recording. I do want to read something that I found that I really liked. And this is related to writer's block, because the number 1 reason that you will not do your homework is because you say, I couldn't find the words, or I had block, right? This is why we don't do it. We have writer's block either in the shape of, I'm not going to write my homework, I'm not going to do it, or it's not good enough. It's the same, right? It's the same theme. If you think it's not good enough, it's also a block. So this is what people say about writer's block. This is Susan Neville, novelists. So these are people who have been reached master level in their writing craft. Susan says, writer's block is a misnomer and can be compared with turning off a faucet. Like the ability to write, faucets can develop problems when they're seldom used. You get all this rust in the pipes. When you turn on the faucet, a lot of rust comes out. That's what Susan says about it. Seth Godin says, I write like I talk and I don't get talker's block. I love this one. Do you ever get talker's block? No. That's what you cannot say. You got writer's block. In the same way, you don't get talker's block. You talk, equals I write, even if it means talking into the phone. All right, Sylvia, bye, honey. We'll see you next time. And the last one is from Bukowski, Charles Bukowski, the known novelist and screenplay. Writing about a writer's block is better than not writing at all. And that is it. Like, if you have writer's block, write about that, right? So no excuse, in other words. Okay, lovelies, I hope you enjoyed today's class. Just quickly, for whoever wants to say a takeaway or something that stuck with you, and then we'll end for this evening. Quick takeaway.
I'll share a takeaway.
Yeah.
I loved how you know, write like you talk. When I've taught reading and writing classes, that's exactly what I tell my kids, you know. So I love that.
Really?
You know, it was like a big light bulb. It's like, why did I think of that?
Exactly.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah.
So brilliant, Carmen.
So yeah, there are many others, but I'll leave it with that.
That's a very good one to leave it with. Okay. All right, everyone. Thank you for coming. I'll be sending you the recording. Send me your homeworks. Send me what you write. And I'll see you in a week's time. Do post on the group if you feel inspired, you want to inspire others. If you want to ask anything as well, you can put it on there. Okay. Have a great week ahead. Have a lovely Valentine's Love Day if you're celebrating. If not, you know, remember you can love any day anyway. Okay. Take care, beloveds. Bye.